Welcome to the podcast that buffs your Hearthstone game. This is Velen's Chosen.
Not all who wander are lost.
Hello and welcome, folks, to Velen's Chosen. We are a podcast geared to buff your Hearthstone game, and we exist to help you progress on the ladder without breaking your bank, necessarily. We help you through gameplay discussions, mostly deck construction, and a few little tips and tricks to help you improve your game in mostly standard. But today, the Chosen ones here want to talk about Wild, and it's gonna get crazy.
Ooh.
So I'm your host, NotRobMay, and joining me today we have Evemartyn with a brand spanking new microphone.
Yeah, let me know. Give me some feedback of how it sounds.
So we're still learning.
Is that a sound joke?
Oh dear.
Feedback?
And, we have Andrew
like
trying
it.
to make jokes work on our show since September of last year.
Since
Andrew
the
Brown.
very first episode, basically, yes.
Yep.
And you'd think I'd get better at this point, but it just seems to
You
get
were
worse.
practicing your
But-
dad jokes before you even had your first child.
Oh, that
true,
was
because
exactly
it's-
what I was going to say.
It's an important part about being a father, right?
Yes, exactly. I
If
agree.
anything, your dad jokes should get worse in theory, so we have nothing else to
I hope
blame.
I hope so.
All right, so before we get started, guys, let's do a quick little life update. Eve, let's start with you. You've had the most changes this last, 7 days, right?
Yeah, we're finally out of the hotel. We're finally
Yay.
into a house. We weren't able to find a furnished one because the market here right now is pretty crazy. So we had to basically get an empty house and then buy beds and tables and chairs and linens and pretty much everything all at once to fill your house with because we have nothing. So that's been eventful and tiring. And I'm also still working full time at the same time and trying to play Hearthstone. Okay, I want to say this right now. Shout out to the Holiday Inn. Okay, we enjoyed our stay there. Everyone was very nice. Hotels are not meant to live in. They're
What?
places where you go briefly and stay and leave.
Is that how
So-
it works?
Living in one for a month. They were very helpful and very kind, but their Wi-Fi sucks so bad. So awful.
And now you don't have to worry about it ever again,
Right.
especially in regards to recording a podcast.
Yeah.
Exactly.
no doubt.
That was a miserable experience. Just like being on your phone and nothing loading. Yeah, it was very, very frustrating. So I love you, Holiday Inn, but your Wi-Fi sucks.
And this is kind of our final welcome back to Andrew after having his child.
That's
So,
right.
you wanna walk
Back
us through
in
some of
the
that?
game. Well, basically, there is nothing new under the sun, and everything everyone ever said about having a child is true. You get no sleep, you can't imagine your life without them, and it's an incredible bonding experience for you and your spouse. So, very, very thankful. I know I said it on Twitter, but just was overwhelmed by the support and shout outs and congrats from everyone. So thanks to everyone who said something, everyone who didn't say something but still sent positive energy, prayers, thoughts, whatever.
What
my
makes
way.
thou no
So,
spell damage +1?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, something like that. But no, it's been a blast. It's been a blast, and we've had a lot of support from our family. So my mother-in-law has been out here for the past few weeks, and my mom will be coming this weekend. So nice to have a little bit of help. Pro tip for those of you having children at any point in your life: get help. Anytime somebody
Yes.
offers help, you never say no. You always figure out something that they can do.
Yes.
So,
I think it's
especially with food.
interesting to have the male
Yeah.
point of view on it, honestly, because obviously I can't speak to how it is from your end of it. You know, I know what it's like because I have 3 kids of my own. But to know what the husband goes through and his headspace and things like that, that's always interesting.
Yeah, it's obviously not comparable, but at the same, like my wife and I talked about it a lot. It's an emotional experience going through, being with your wife through all of it and everything. So I think that's why they say it's such a bonding experience, because you're both going through so much pain and joy and confusion and uncertainty all at the same time, and you come out the other side better for it. So really thankful.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Sweet. That sounds great. I'm really excited.
But what about you, Rob? You got big stuff happening too.
Oh man, I have stuff that I haven't even told you guys yet that we're gonna go on the show.
Whoa!
So I got some really great news this morning and this week about just stuff with like living situation. I found out that the location that I thought my school was located at is actually closer by a significant margin, meaning that I don't have to purchase a car when I move to Japan, which is like
nice.
So that's really good, and the expense then will then be moved to getting myself and my wife a bicycle, which she said it might cost around $150, but my predecessor does have her own bike that we might potentially take if she's leaving the country and has no way to put it, and we can probably supplement her maybe half price. If it's a girly bike, then it'll just like basically go to my wife and I'll have to buy one that's brand new, which is fine. And
girly bike.
But I don't really care, like that initial thing. I just need something to get to work, and the Japanese people are pretty
just
like
spray paint it, Rob.
Yeah,
that's right.
Gotta find some spray paint
or just
that I'm
own the
allowed to
pink.
use.
It's okay.
Yeah,
it's
there
okay.
You go. Own the pink.
be comfortable in your masculinity and just own it.
But the other good news is not only do I not need a car and the school is closer and I can use a bike to get there, but it's only a 20-minute bike ride. So that's really, really nice. I've been really dying to get a bike and like wanting to walk to work instead of like take a bus with a bike and a train and a bike and then like get a bike lock. It's like, whoa, I don't want to do all that. I just would rather have like 1 or 2 quick ways to get in and out. And so, yeah, that was really encouraging. And then I found out how much I'm going to be making, which is more than I had initially thought, which is good, especially initially. And
always good to be paid more than you thought.
And
Yes.
The program gives you a significant increase in pay year to year for the first, like from year 1 to 2 and 2 to 3. So I found out that basically if I'm going to stay as an assistant teacher over being a full-time teacher after year 1, they're going to have to give me X and Y as far as like pay raise are concerned, and responsibilities have to correlate with that, obviously. So it's really neat. I'm excited. I'm
That's
looking
really
at
good
getting
news.
some more
Yeah.
stuff for it. My wife and I just got 2 of our big bins for luggage. I'm going to go to a wedding today.
And it's all going down this month, right?
Yeah, like we're basically, this week is the podcast, and I'm going to a wedding this weekend of a high school buddy of mine that I've reconnected with recently. And then next weekend is kind of my last weekend in Indiana with my in-laws. And then the weekend prior, we're going to record the show, and then I'm going to go up to my in-laws for a week, go to another wedding, and then we go to the orientation the last day of the States, and I fly out the 30th.
Dang.
So for
Going
those of
down
you
for
listening,
real.
that basically means we're going to go on a week hiatus. We want to give you lots of notice, but that last week of July is going to be pretty tight for recording a show and editing and posting the show along with Omnic Lab before I get on a plane. So we're just going to take that week off and then figure out what we're going to do the next weekend, because it's going to be really tight for about the time that I land in Yamaguchi. I may not even have internet. So we'll
And
figure
by
something
our
out.
luck, that'll be the week that they announce the next adventure or something, and
Yeah,
everyone will
exactly.
be spinning, and
I
we'll be
already
standing around
know-
like, sorry.
I already know that at the 21st at Comic-Con, they're announcing the new hero for Overwatch, so I'm already bummed if I can't make that first show. Whether
You're gonna
what
miss
next-
that too. Oh,
Yeah.
man.
So that's a little bit of life update. Took a little longer than maybe we were planning, but it's okay. And we'll go on one more tangent for about 5 minutes max. But Pokemon Go is out. We talked about this at Omnic Lab, but I'm really hyped about this. Eve, have you taken the kiddos out?
No. Hold on. Rob, you're not hyped about this. You're obsessed with this, right?
All right. For those of you on video,
you're dreaming about Kakunas, and
I have a team of 3 Raticates that are my gym stomping squad.
On, you got to do better than that.
All right, so this is what I got going for you on. Those are my top guys right there. It's pretty insane. I can't really catch much more than like Pidgeys and Rattatas where I'm at. I haven't really gotten anything cool yet.
Pidgeot's pretty tight. I'm just glad that it's all the original ones because it reminds me of truly the glory days when I was in middle school and bringing my big chunker of a Game Boy to school and getting caught and getting it confiscated and all.
So Eve, what about you? Have you been playing it? Have you gotten it in Canada yet? I don't know if it's gone live.
It's not available in Canada yet.
Okay, because I got a couple buddies. Shout out to Andrew. He's in Canada. He's like, I just downloaded the APK because I can't wait any longer, and I have an Android, so I can. And he's like, I can't stop. It's so fun.
A bunch of kids and nieces and nephews that will just absolutely go ape for it as soon as they can get their hands on it, and they will love it to death. But I keep checking every day and every couple hours, and it's not up yet. So
yeah,
I know there's a couple different ways you can get it, but I want to be able to get it the right way.
Right. There's tons of people in EU that are like waiting for it too. Like the British people have like a UK Reddit thread where they're like, every hour updated, do we have it yet? Like, oh my gosh, people are waiting so much.
I know that we pretty much deliberately on this show steer away from making any kind of political statements at all, so I'm not going to make any. But I will say my Twitter feed was very weird last night. It was like Black Lives Matter, Pokemon Go, Black Lives Matter, Pokemon Go, and just it was surreal. So many people excited about running around capturing imaginary creatures on their phones, and then
at the same time there's immense devastation happening as well.
Yeah,
we live in a very
shooting
odd
in Dallas
time in
last
history.
night.
Yeah. So it was kind of like, okay, hold on to remembering that there's a lot of good things in the world, a lot of fun, happy, and it's okay to be excited about those things and to help those things get you through tough times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So anyway, that was something I just thought I'd share.
And without getting any political stuff or anything going further, like our hearts and prayers are with those in the shooting, especially the police officers' families who were killed last night. This is in Dallas, and then there was some other shootings in Minnesota, and then one in Florida again, or Alabama or something down south, and I just can't imagine going through that in that specific scenario. It's like they're so similar and yet so different, and just really scary stuff that's going on. And I inevitably, when I go to Japan, I'm going to have to explain to people that, United States, depending on where you live, can be very safe or it can be very not. And it's going to be one of the questions they're going to ask.
I think that's the way with a lot of countries, right? You have your more dangerous areas. You have your more, nothing really ever happens. It's pretty peaceful here. I think that's the way with a lot of different countries.
But the areas where the shootings have been happening aren't necessarily dangerous places like Dallas or Minnesota or anything like that. You got to understand, wherever you are at, people are inherently broken at their core, including us. And we're going to do things that are outside of what seems normal or seems appropriate. And we're going to make mistakes. And some of us make mistakes that are at the expense of others, unfortunately. So no matter what, there's a lot of healing to be done. And if we want to live in a society where this kind of stuff doesn't happen as normally, we're going to have to actively work towards something rather than just posting something on Facebook, but truly developing relationships with people who see things differently than us, and either winning them over or trying to just understand their perspective better. And that's as soapboxy as I'll get, but
I completely agree with you. I don't want to discount reaching out on social media because there are a lot of times where things go by unspoken, and that's the worst thing when nobody talks about it, when it's just kind of another day, and no one remarks on it and no one says anything. That's worse. I think the way that social media helps is that it gets a lot of things out there into the public awareness that maybe in years gone by just slipped by without people really knowing about it at all. Like these things could have gone by without people finding out about them without social media. But yeah, don't let it stop there. Don't let, like, I did my job. I liked that Facebook post and done.
That's where I see it as a problem, is that it's a false validity that I've done something by posting, but in reality, you've kind of screamed into a canyon, and either people will agree or they will comment hatefully, and it doesn't actually do anything. It just, if anything, it resolves you to not change your mind or to see things another person's way. And I really think that we don't see resolution unless we have civil conversations and really with the heart of understanding one another, rather than trying to prove to you that I'm right about something, and that it's hard to have those conversations, and it's hard to get anywhere. But
speaking of being civil, making mistakes, and doing things that are a little bit off kilter, we have to jump into Wild. So
yeah.
So
let's get down to the Hearthstone talk.
And
Please,
more or less,
yes.
Making mistakes segue is where I'm gonna land on this one, because I don't like playing Wild. And I think it's a mistake to go play.
Did you have bad luck in there?
I don't ever want to go back to that. Like, my Wild experience is completely limited to playing in the Tavern Brawl this last week, which we'll get to. And I was just like, this is why Standard exists, is because I don't have to play Shredders on 4 and play around like all of these death rattles that just stick on the board for like 4 turns. It's like, I don't want to mess with this anymore. So anyways, I
think Wild is a good place for people who maybe have started the game pretty recently and are like, but I just got these cards and I haven't really gotten to play them yet. And, I haven't gotten to have fun with all these things, like maybe Dr. Boom and things like that, who have gotten into the game maybe later.
Well, hey, we got to move into the topic before we start talking about it.
Yeah.
Okay. Did Andrew, I skip ahead?
Andrew, why don't you just kick us off here? You hear me?
He's waiting for your bumper.
Oh, yeah. I do have bumpers and stuff, don't I? Awkward pauses.
I hope you like my invention.
Someone call for the doctor?
Alrighty. So we're going to talk about the main topic of Wild.
So I threw some questions on here for us to talk just from a 30,000-foot perspective about it, because my guess is a lot of our listeners are playing Standard, because that's typically what we talk about. Ever since Wild was mentioned in the pro scene, or in the the majority of players, they said, okay, finally Standard's going to be here. That's all I'm going to play. I'm good with that. So we even need to take a step back and ask the question, why does Wild exist in the first place?
Okay, I pretty much think one of the biggest reasons is that you want your purchases to have value. So if you have cards that go out of play and then cease to exist, then you may feel like you spent money or you spent time getting cards that are suddenly gone. Poof, So Wild exists to have a place where these cards can always be. You can always play with them. You can always have them. And therefore, the purchases and the time that you put into the game have a certain amount of value that stays.
Mm-hmm.
And Standard is so that the card collection does not balloon to unmanageable sizes.
Yeah. And I remember Brode saying that it just doesn't feel good to not be able to do anything. So you have 2 options with these cards that you purchased through Naxxramas and Goblins versus Gnomes. You can either hold on to them and play them in Wild or in Brawl. That's what I've chosen to do. or you can dust as many of them or all of them if you want, and use that dust towards relevant sets also. Did you guys dust any of your older cards in favor of some newer stuff?
I dusted my Exna as soon as I could because I didn't figure I'd be using her again, and I wanted to work towards getting enough dust to make some of the new legendaries. So I held on to quite a few, though, because I do think about upcoming adventures and different card combinations that you might need in order to overcome heroic bosses and things like that. So I'm always kind of scared that as soon as I dust something, it's going to be a part of an amazing combo, and I'm just going to have to craft it again.
Yeah, I think I did the same thing. I think I disenchanted a few weaker legendaries, and then I also disenchanted a bunch of cards that didn't really have much impact that were epics and were also golden that I had opened from, you know, hitting rank 5 for whatever reason. They gave you those, so I disenchanted like a couple of their golden epics just for the dust because I wanted some more goldens. I was able to craft a golden Thalnos a couple weeks ago because of that. I was really excited.
Nice.
So I don't know. To weigh in on why Wild exists for me is I like to even expand it further out as instead of just the mode, but like Wild exists to give players that have been around a slight edge when it comes to, like Eve said, when you jump into new adventures, when you jump into Tavern Brawl, when you jump into these new game modes that are Wild enabled, you do have a little bit of a strategic edge, not just from an experiential perspective, but because you have different tools in your toolbox, and it kind of just rewards you for basically having those cards or being able to play during that time. And also from what I've seen in a lot of folks like Kibler and Raynad, like Andrew was telling us in the top of the show before we started, that these guys are kind of getting bored with the meta already with standard because they play so much of it that it gives them kind of a way to, once they hit legend or once they hit a decent legend pool until the end of the month where they have to start grinding, they can jump into Wild and play something different, and they can start constructing.
Freshen your palette, kind of.
Yeah. It just gives you that extra layer of diversity.
They also are content creators, right? So they have big, pools of people watching them, and they want to see something different and new and fun and exciting. And Wild is definitely a place to go to make all of those crazy decks and to be really innovative.
Yeah, I would agree. I really would like to see more people making an effort in Wild to tweak the patron warrior list with blood warriors. I think that would be really cool since they do have access to like Death Spite and able to make the patrons the way they used to be made and blood warriors them. That would just be bananas. That would be so fun to try out.
Which, by the way, Death Spite is a game changer for Patron Warrior.
Yeah,
I forgot
card for Patron Warrior.
How much that card makes it happen. On our interview with Yang Wu a couple weeks ago, he told us that less people were playing Wild. Why do you guys think that has been the case? Why were so many people? From the announcement, people were really excited about Standard, but it definitely has stuck that way. There hasn't been Standard actually is no fun. I'd rather go over to Wild. Why do you guys think that Standard's been so much more of a standard?
Sure, I'll weigh in here. I've got a twofold answer. So the first answer that I will say with why people are staying away from Wild is because innately when you launch a new set of cards, people are going to join in with that new set of cards. And I know that doesn't really exist with Wild, but people getting in a new set of cards along with the announcement that they're going to cycle out a bunch of old cards basically lowers the wall of or the barrier to entry for newer and or veteran players that don't have a large card pool. Those people are more apt to come into the game. So you're seeing an influx of those people coming in and playing only Standard because that's the size of the card pool that they want to come in and play with. And then the second fold answer is you have the other end of the crowd, which is all of the hardcores. All of the hardcores are traditionally people that are not only hardcore into Hearthstone, but are also usually competing at a high level, whether that be at the top percentage or the top, people that are fighting for ranks 10 to legend in addition to legend players. They're sick and tired of playing the old one. They're ready to play something else, and they're wanting to play not only the new cards, but they're also not wanting to play with the old cards. So I think that for me is the reason, and I think more recently, like Andrew and I were saying in the previous discussion point, that then brings everybody out and says, okay, now that this has kind of died down of the hype train for that initial set and the initial rotation, people are starting to kind of settle and spread out into wild modes or standard modes, and I think they're getting more populated.
Yeah, I think we will see more people dabbling. I think it's kind of begun. I can't remember the first time I tried Wild. I think it was a couple months ago, and it just hit me out of the blue. Oh yeah, Wild exists, and I think I might have mentioned it on the show before that I had the impression that Wild was going to be way easier to get Legend on because you could just keep on running Secret Pally and overrun everyone, and no big deal. But that was not my experience then. It has not been my experience this week either. If anything, it seems like Wild is just as competitive as Standard. Granted, the meta is very different because there are so many powerful cards in GVG that they are so powerful is the reason why we were excited to see them cycled out. Piloted Shredder, Anti-Keelbot, that kind of stuff. We don't have anything that's that heavy hitting in this new set, or Dr. Boom, of course. Yeah, I can't believe I almost forgot about Boom. But
how quickly we forget.
Yeah, no, for real. But it'll be interesting to talk about kind of our experiences on there and stuff. I was thinking about the different kinds of players who might be on Wild, or who might consider playing Wild. For the person who's brand new to Hearthstone, just now, getting started, there is probably zero reason to actually jump into Wild because you are going to be very behind. Wild, with these really strong Naxxramas cards and GVG, those are almost necessary to really find a place in there, other than maybe Aggro Shaman, because that's been able to keep up with newer sets, and there weren't any heavy hitting cards from those sets for that archetype. You're going to need a lot of those older cards, and you can make them if you want to aggregate the dust and craft them, but they're only going to be usable in Wild or in Tavern Brawl. So I don't think we're going to see any newer players doing that, nor should they. It's really going to be a place for those experienced players. I think you mentioned that, Rob, who have been around a while, want to shake things up, want to try something different. And, even if it is just to refresh your palate from all those, all of the meta decks that you're sick of seeing on, Standard, you can go and relive Secret Pally and feel terrible about yourself. And that's okay.
I think that for me, the reason I didn't immediately go to Wild is because I'm not that great at making decks, and so I net deck quite a lot. And all the pros and everyone who makes all of the decks every season, they were all in Standard. So anything that you looked up, there wasn't a whole lot of people making waves in Wild and putting together new things in Wild. So you kind of had to follow where the crowd was going. And then after, when things settled down, like you said, and people started taking an interest in Wild, and you could find interesting decks to make up and play out in Wild, then that was the time where I was like, okay, I feel like I can get in because some people have been in there ahead of me and done the hard work, and I can take the decks that they've put together. And I like teching a little bit, depending on what I'm running up against, but the core base of each deck is most of the time is net decking is what I do. So when there was nobody in the Wild space doing anything or creating anything, it was a little too intimidating to kind of jump back in there with all of the cards and try and make something on my own.
Sure.
But now I'm definitely interested in seeing what the meta's like over there.
I was actually pleasantly surprised at how many Wild decks there were available online as I was searching this week, because I had no clue what was even relevant. I figured Secret Pally to some degree was relevant on there, but there are quite a few people who are still playing, and while Wu didn't confirm any kind of number or percentage, there are people at every rank. There are people who are getting to legend. There are people who are, even climbing the ranks within legend, and are doing really well. So there's a lot of options out there for players to look at if you're wanting to try it out.
There's something really cool about the wild format that I've also noticed, where a lot of people didn't understand that not only is legend like getting a huge section of cards with the old gods to go play with, in addition to having all of the old ones from GVG and Nax, but they had their cards nerfed as well. So like combo druid doesn't exist in wild or in standard. They don't have the cards applied to different rules. They apply the same rules to all of the card changes that they make for all game modes currently. So if you want to jump into wild, you can't really play your combo druid anymore. You can't really even play, old school handlock anymore, because the owls are 3 mana and your Ironbeak owls are 3 mana, and then you also have the giants at 25. So even those decks are overall, their power levels are weakening. And from what it looks like,
Arcane Golem too.
Yeah, Arcane Golem too for comboed lists.
Yeah.
But from what I've seen, if I were to ever really want to get back into wild, I would probably end up playing Priest. Because Priest has access to Light Bomb and N'Zoth and all of those early game threats and so many board clears that like made people super frustrated.
And our namesake. Don't forget about our namesake.
Velen's Chosen!
Velen's Chosen on some of these new cards that are early threats are really good.
And Zombie Chow.
You heard it from Rob first, guys. Go into wild and play Priest.
I think you can play Priest with Zombie Chows and Corrupted Healbots and Embrace the Shadow and board clears. Like that's bananas to me. Like think about this. Like you have Zombie Chows on your board, and you run them into your opponent with a Auchenai on board or an Embrace the Shadow turn, and then you just light bomb all of your big threats. Like that's so much damage. That's so much damage.
Pretty crazy. And we'll talk about our experience here in a sec. I've got some crazy decks that I saw that were actually extremely effective.
Awesome. So what do we want to transition into now? Like, Andrew, do you want to go into the decks right away? Do we have any?
Yeah, I guess we can just talk about that. So my experience, if you haven't jumped into Wild at all and you're interested, and I'd say go try it out, go see what it's like. It's completely free, so that's kind of nice. Take advantage of it. But if you've been playing, standard exclusively like a lot of people have, when you jump into Wild, you will probably be at rank 25. So that resets every month on its own. If you have not played it, then it will keep dropping. It will take whatever your rank in Wild was the past month and then, reset you from there. So you'll probably be very low. You will probably play against people who have decks with Booty Bay Bodyguard like me. No, I didn't have that card in my deck, but I did play somebody, and I was like, "Oh, wow, okay, that's the card. Okay, I'm not going to judge
triple
you."
B.
Yeah, and I did take a Secret Paladin from, I think I was at rank 21 up to 12 without really much problem at all.
Yeah.
Now it's once I hit 12 that my experience has gone from soup to nuts, because holy cow. I know I've talked about rage, and I know I've talked about frustration, but I think I have achieved a special level of frustration this past week, because as fast as it was for me to get up to rank 12, I'm still at rank 11, and I cannot bust out of that on Wild. So I was running up against the most random stuff, and one in particular just took me completely by surprise. I finally figured out, like about halfway through the game, it was a rogue mill, or a mill rogue, and I couldn't figure it out because he was playing so many normal removal cards and stuff like that. It wasn't until he played N'Zoth and brought back his Sylvanas, because that's not a typical rogue card, his Sludge Belchers, his Death Lords, all that stuff. I was like, oh, this is crazy. But then he shadow steps his N'Zoth. And I realized I've got to clear this board of 4 taunt minions.
And then do it again.
I mean, how much is that even? 26 health? That's 26. He healed himself for 26, basically. And then and then I know it's coming again, right? And guess what he does after he plays N'Zoth the second time? He shadow steps it again. And then guess what after that? He got whatever that toxin is from Zeril that let him shadow step it a third time. And I was thinking about conceding.
You have Shadowcasters too?
No, I didn't see Shadowcaster, but that probably would have done it. So,
dang,
holy cow,
that's
that
nuts.
was. There was zero chance for me to win that game, and it was so frustrating. And I was playing. Yeah, I was playing a priest at the time.
It's a rogue.
Yes, yes.
Wow.
I went up against a paladin that wasn't N'Zoth paladin, but kind of played like it, where he's just stalling the game and outvaluing me. I played against it seemed like these random archetypes that I haven't really seen that were just insanely powerful. And Eater of Secrets is the card to tech in, by the way. I mean, that card was created to go against Secret Paladin. So if you play that against somebody who has 5 secrets up, which isn't crazy, you've got a 7 attack, 9 health minion for 4 mana. That will stop the game. That will change the game on its head. And
so Andrew, have you tried playing Freeze Mage yet?
So that's what I just did.
And
I started finally winning again. And holy cow, Freeze Mage is good with Mad Scientist. Like, that card alone makes the archetype. But here's the problem. I get to full 4 stars on rank 11. I'm like, okay, this is finally it. I'm getting to rank 10. I go up against Aggro Shaman, lose. Queue up again, go up against Aggro Shaman, lose. All right.
No.
I'm back.
Aggro Shaman is in Wild?
Oh, it's in Wild. It's effective.
Oh,
and it's
that's
the right
sad.
It's the right counter to Freeze Mage too. But Freeze Mage is definitely the
Let me touch on that real quick, Andrew.
To play if you're going up against Secret Paladin.
That Aggro Shaman thing, I've actually heard of people that are not... Okay, so think about this from a budget player perspective, right? You have very little cards. You have enough to play both old and new school Aggro Shaman, okay? If you're running into a wall at the beginning of the season or any point in the season, and all you want is a rank 5 chest, you can go to Wild, and you can play the same deck, and it's really good. So even though it may be rage-inducing from Andrew's perspective, I think that's a brilliant idea. Because as a player that's looking for... It works on both ladders. Yeah, as somebody that's looking for rank 10, rank 5 chests, and you have 1 or 2 tools to get there, and those 2 tools are, something in Pally, maybe, or you have Aggro Shaman, or maybe even you have Face Hunter with Mad Scientist, you can jump between the 2 and have your 4 decks and do whatever you can do to maximize face and get your boxes.
Face Hunter lost their Arcane Golem, though, so.
And Glaive Zuka. But does Aggro Shaman beat Secret Paladin? Because that is the most prevalent deck in Wild, no question.
The real question is, how does the Secret Paladin line up to a 7/7?
Unless you have a lot of taunt.
How does the Secret Paladin line up to a 7? Oh, with Flame Wreathed? Well, the nice thing is you got Noble Sacrifice to stop him. And
if
Noble Sac and Avenge.
Sludge Belchers in, then you can beat Aggro Shaman.
That's probably true.
I think you're probably right, Eve. And the other thing is that they have access to Loatheb again. So 1 Sludge Belcher or 2 Belchers and a Loatheb can usually do some work if that's what you're seeing. But that might be really bad if you're lining up against N'Zoth Priest at 1 after 1 after 1. That's a problem.
As an Aggro Shaman myself, I would say the most frustrating thing is taunt. So if you're seeing a lot of them, put a bunch of taunts in your deck and you're fine.
Yeah. That rogue list with, Belchers and Deathlords in N'Zoth, I mean, it just changes the game.
Did you want to make it and play it, Andrew?
Kind of, except it felt so bad to lose against. I'll play Aggro Shaman. I don't know if I can bear playing that rogue deck because it was so dirty. I mean,
I just feel icky after playing that.
So much pain to the person on the other end.
There was no hope. Absolutely none. Absolutely none. But So that's been my experience in a nutshell. I would really like. I'm further along on Wild now than in Standard, so I'd like to get to rank 5 on Wild, and then I might change. But I don't know. The grind from 12 to 10 has been so halting that I'm not sure I can manage it much longer. But we'll see.
So either Secret Paladin with Sledge Belchers or join the dark side and go Aggro Shaman.
Or you can do what I did and pay to win and play Crusher Control Shaman with N'Zoth and like all of these crazy legendaries in it. It's really fun.
Are you enjoying that deck?
You have to understand, guys, if you're new to the crew for Velen's Chosen, not only is Shaman my WoW class, Shaman is my favorite class, like just in general. And I originally started playing Control Shaman, was like my first deck in pre-Nax. So I am like back to my roots playing, you know, Earth Elementals with Reincarnation into Sylvanas into, then now I have like a N'Zoth that just, it's so good. Love it. So let's transition out of this real quick and just hit on what we did with the Brawl before we get into the deck of the week. Eve, you played the Brawl already, correct?
Nope.
Okay.
Complaining about my crappy Wi-Fi. Today is the first day that I actually have good internet, and I'm going to jump headfirst into the Brawl. I've been hearing a lot of things about it. I would like advice from both of you of how to dominate my enemies and hear the lamentations of their women.
You want to know?
How to pillage the village.
Okay.
So you do it. Aggro Shaman. So you do Tunnel Trog, turn 1.
Uh-huh.
Oh, because we haven't said what it was. It basically auto draws your curve, so it guarantees you
anything on
1 drop on turn 1,
and anything on 2 will be a 2 cost, and anything on 3 will be a 3 cost.
So play my favorite deck, and that's all I got to do with.
So Tunnel Trog on turn 1, Totem Golem on turn 2, opponent concedes. That was my game on
Wow.
on Brawl this week.
My game was very different. I went for actually having fun, Andrew. I played Warlock.
Uh-oh.
Are you ready?
What?
And it's
Rob?
not
This is
Zoo.
so
It's
unlike
not
you.
Zoo. It's not. I promise.
Not Zoo. What'd you do?
I go Voidwalker into Dark Peddler, into Imp Gang Boss, into Shadowbolt. Or I'm sorry, not Shadowbolt. I actually ended up going as a Voidwalker, Dark Peddler, Coin Shredder, Azure Drake, into... Like, I had a spell come out that I already had in my mulligan, and my Shredder turned into a... What is that guy called? The Wild Pyromancer. And so I shot something for 4, and it already had a 1 health creature on the other side, and it wiped his board. And I think it might have even been Aggro Shaman, to be honest. And then what happened next was just, like, Karen Bloodhoof into Dr. Boom... into what was it? Sneed Shredder.
Wallet Warlock.
Yeah, Sneed Shredder into like freaking Ysera, and then I played N'Zoth, and it was just like, come at me, bro. Get it.
You cannot defeat that curve.
It's so good. And I had like other cards that I had to fill it
one
with.
Thing. Since they give you the cards of the mana that you have for each turn, if you're overloaded as a shaman, do they still give you 3 mana cost card when you only have 2 free mana?
Yes. It's based off of the turn is how the engine works. So if it's turn 1, they'll give you a 1. If it's turn 2, they'll give you a 2. So it doesn't work for ramp druids that are using...
one drop in there.
Yeah, Astral Communion doesn't work. Like, you'll still get a 2 drop.
Yeah. You don't want to do that. Just a strong minion on each turn, and you'll do great.
Yeah. And Zoo works
Paladin,
fine, too.
I think, would be a really amazing class for that as well. They have a lot of quite strong drops.
Mm-hmm.
I would agree. I think Hunter would actually do really well in this brawl as well. Like, Fiery Bat into Huge Toad into Animal Companion.
Infested Wolf.
Or you could even have
Stampeding Kodo.
Did you
have
try
desert
this?
camels
It
in
sounds
there.
like you know exactly what you would put into it, Andrew.
It's mid-range Hunter, and you guys have heard me lament against that.
Mid-range
Infested
Hunter
Wolf.
also very good in Wild, just in case people are wondering.
Yeah,
Also
it
a
is.
very good deck to play in Wild.
Cool. All
Especially
right,
because
so
you've got
that's-
Han and Creepers back.
I was happy with the brawl, not
like
because of the
that.
design, but probably because I got my pack in one game. So the brawl is a good brawl
You
if I
had
get
a-
my pack in the first game.
For you to have a good experience is good for all of us, right? With this it's just every week.
It's just not a salt-filled Villains Chosen. It's like, oh, what are we gonna get? What are we gonna get?
Yeah.
Yahtzee!
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So in Wild, that card that buffs the Death Rattle cards in your hand, probably a lot better in Wild because we lost a lot of Death Rattle cards in Standard.
I would
Do you
think
remember what
so.
it's called? It's got like a wolf on it. Or
Forlorn
werewolf.
Stalker?
Is that what it is?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Gives all your
4
Death
mana,
Rattle
though.
cards what, like +1/+1 or something?
Is he like 3 or 4 mana for like a 4/2? It's not like
3 mana for a 4/2. Yeah.
okay.
It was the new big game hunter kind of,
Yeah.
but not.
It works really good if you have like Infested Wolf and a Sledge Belcher in your hand, though. Dang.
Or Haunted
Oh, yeah,
Creepers,
that's true.
or
Oh my gosh, Haunted
Shredder,
Creepers.
or
Ugh.
Sledge
And then Ruby and
Belcher, yeah.
Eggs. You get a 1/3.
There you go. So you don't have to have
Gosh.
anything to make it ping or anything. It just comes right out with one attack.
No.
True.
Yeah,
I feel
see,
icky.
now we got to go make that. That sounds super fun.
All right, so let's get into the discount deck. I don't have a bumper because it's the same one that we use for the main topic, so let's get into it.
All right, we got your Secret Pally. So this is a throwback to our very first episode when Secret Paladin
It was awesome.
became a thing, you know. So I found a list that runs eggs, which is pretty cool, and it's got a really good deck guide that goes along with it. Not that you necessarily need a deck guide for Secret Pally. I mean, that's why, in some regards, it's a fun deck to play because you can pilot it without really having to question a lot of plays. So it's a really it's really good because when you lose, it's typically because you drew poorly. You know, this deck list doesn't use the secret keepers like the crazy aggro Secret Paladin lists do. Instead, you've got 2 Nerubian eggs and a dragon egg. Dragon egg is great for the Blessing of Kings, or if you get an Avenge on it. So it runs a copy of Abusive Sergeant. So everything else is pretty much typical. It runs a Ragnaros Firelord, which is nice to close some games. But it's pretty discounted because the epics that you're running, you got the 2 Mysterious Challengers, of course, you have to have those, and 1 copy of Coghammer. If you don't have Coghammer, you can throw in another second Consecration or second Blessing of Kings or something like that. And then all the legendaries, Lotheb, Tyrion, Dr. Boom, and Rag are really strong, but you can really replace any of them with other good legendaries like Sylvanas, Nefarian, Cairn, stuff like that. So it's honestly pretty standard. There's probably not a lot to talk about with this, but if you do want to go and give Wild a try, want to have an effective deck, this is the deck that I took from 21 to 12 with
Mine too.
Okay, it looks like we lost Andrew on the live recording. So what we will do is just continue to record here. Andrew's discussion will most likely
He's
be...
recording his audio still, so yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, he's resetting. Okay, cool. Yeah, I also would like to say if you missed Secret Paladin and you're not playing Wild, you can play it in Standard. I tried out the list that I'm sorry, I forgot your name. Put on Twitter. Who created our audio for the podcast?
Watchmen.
Yeah, Watchmen. Watchmen was saying, hey, Secret Paladin's back in Standard. And I was like, what? I need to try this. And I tried it out, and it did me pretty well. So if you would like to Watchman has it posted on his Twitter feed.
Watchman HS
And I have,
on Twitter.
Yes, Watchman HS has it up there. And it's actually a pretty budget-friendly deck. The one that he has, anyway.
Does he use the dragon eggs?
Nope. I think the only legendary it has in it is Tyrion. And then, of course, the mysterious challengers are epics. So I think it also has is Coghammer out?
Coghammer's out.
Yeah, so it doesn't even have Coghammer.
It
has the
Rallying
one
Blade.
that... Yes, the one that buffs your minions with Divine Shield.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rallying
So
Blade.
yeah, it worked pretty well. I think probably also because the people that I went up against didn't really know what was happening.
Huh.
And they didn't know how to play against me. Maybe they thought that I was a N'Zoth paladin, but yeah.
Did you have
It worked out pretty well.
what is your 5 mana cards, out of curiosity, for that deck list?
What is the one that changes a card's attack and power to
Aldor?
3/3.
Oh, that is
No.
the Keeper of Uldamon. That's a 4 mana card.
Oh, that's 4? Okay, let me just quickly check.
Because it would seem like you would want to have a curve like that you can go probably like maybe Argent Squires and Abusive Sergeants, and then like secrets for your 1-drops and potentially Secret Keeper if you want, and then you have
Oh, no, I have no 5-drops.
So you just run a heavy 4-drop then.
Just
from the
goes from
sounds of
4
it.
to 6 and 8. Yeah, lots of
4s and lots of
Blessing
1s
of
and a 6.
Kings, Consecration, and Keeper of Uldamon. And they also have he had a Steward of Darkshire in there. Actually, 2 of them. Steward of Darkshire, the Rallying Blade, Bilefin, Tidehunter, because you just want to get lots of minions out. Selfless Hero.
Oh, that card's so good.
And not a ton of secrets, just enough to be annoying when you pull out Mysterious Challenger, but not to make your deck too weak. Yeah, I won without ever pulling Tyrion too, so he's not essential win condition. Your Mysterious Challenger is your win condition.
I'm just surprised that it doesn't run the True Silver Champions, because those cards seem really swingy to me for Paladin.
It's possible that it could take some tinkering, absolutely. Yeah, no True Silver Champions.
Gotcha. All right, well, I think we have Andrew back, but his video feed is kind of just not working for us right now. But I do think I believe I can hear him, so.
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry.
Well, let's go back into your discussion. So we left off on kind of how to play the egg list.
How to play? Okay.
It runs 5 secrets, huh? Or 4 secrets.
Oh, he was talking about what to substitute in for the legendaries when he dropped out.
Right.
Oh, you're
okay.
right.
Are you gonna splice them together then, or I'm sorry?
Yeah. This is just for the video people for this section.
Gotcha. So yeah, the legendaries are pretty replaceable. I mean, nothing's going to do exactly what, each of them do, but you can replace any of them since they're just standard good legendaries, Lotheb, Tyrion, Rag Firelord. You can replace them with any good legendaries like Ysera, Sylvanas, Nefarian, Cairn, even some good just basic or classic cards like Sunwalker. It's fine, it's not going to do the same thing, but you just want some big minions that have some kind of an impact on the board.
Yep, this is very dependent on your board. Like, it does run the double kings and 1 shredder and 1 consecration, so it doesn't have a whole lot of comeback mechanics, so it's really dictated by how it rolls out initially. So getting that early board is really important.
Shoot, just put in N'Zoth and you're fine. I mean,
there you go.
Just getting back your shredders and haunting creepers and stuff is pretty good. I think that N'Zoth could not have existed unless unless Nax and Goblins versus Gnomes win out, because it's just so powerful. But if you're playing Wild, you have the option, so take it.
All right. Let's take a.
But it's a good.
Oh, go
On
ahead.
the floor in my walk-in closet. It's killing me. I have to shift around because sitting for that long on the floor in my walk-in closet is just it's too much.
Gotcha.
I
So
need to get a chair.
Let's take a quick minute to thank our iTunes reviewer, Mr. Photo Rain. Says, on Curve, I left a similar review of a show called Coin Concede.
I've heard of that
Cool
show.
Friend of ours.
But the same remains true. It's pure joy to listen to the people talk about something that they love, hear them geek out over as much as I do. As you're aware, it's very easy to be the only person you know that wants to talk about Hearthstone around the water cooler at my work. My coworkers are going on, and I'm talking about double PO with Wind Fury to the face for the win. I'm not popular. Anyways, I think it's a great show.
We're not popular either.
And definitely one of the ones that on my weekly listen list. Makes me feel not so crazy.
I gotta tell you, I completely identify with this. I think we all do. And I think it's the reason we made a podcast.
Yes.
It's the reason that I first started listening to Hearthstone podcasts. I mean, I first found the Angry Chicken and Happy Hearthstone, and it was for the exact same reason. I didn't have any friends who played the game, and I thought I was crazy by liking this thing. So totally feel you, Photo Rain. Totally feel you.
I mean, this podcast came about
None
from
of my
3 people that
family
didn't
plays
have
video games. None of my people at work play video games, and I'm like, I'm so excited about this game, and I can't talk about it to anybody.
If you're
Nobody
not
has any
popular,
idea what I'm talking about.
none of us are popular.
The solution is learning how to create a podcast and doing it with random people that you just met on Twitter. That's how we started. So,
and that's another reason why our Discord is a great place to hang out too, because you got lots of people you can interact with in real time. When something happens, you can take a screenshot and share it with everyone, and we really enjoy that community because it's fun, it's real time, and you feel like you've got some friends who got your back.
Yeah.
Yep. Eve, do you want to cover what's been going on with our Patreon this week?
We got a new patron.
Hey!
Woo!
Is that Stephen B?
Thanks, Stephen B.
Sorry, I was waiting for her to finish her
awkward pause.
sentence.
I was gonna say because it's bold in bold. That's our new one.
That's the new one.
Yeah.
That is the new one.
Yes.
Thanks for joining
Mr.
the team.
Steven.
You are chosen. You have been chosen.
Highlight Stephen B.
There we go.
Stephen B, thank you. Thank you, Jamie Lynn P. Thank you, Brexton SI7, Jamie S, Kelvin, Crovan B, Ricardo C, John H, Gabriel Z, Garrett S, and Jeffrey W. Thank you for supporting the show and helping me get my brand new microphone, helping the audio quality of the podcast continue to improve. Next, I can buy a chair.
Yeah. Not a DX Racer chair, just a chair.
A chair. Any chair.
A chair. Something from Office Supply or IKEA, depending on where you're from. So our show is solely supported by those of you that are supporting us over on Patreon. That is the only means by which we make money off of the show. And by making money off of the show, we basically mean helping us pay the cost that it that it requires us to play Hearthstone and do the show every week, giving us equipment and maintenance costs, website costs. We're finally out of the gutter as far as our initial investments for the website, and now we're slowly acquiring equipment that we can get to make the show even better for you guys. And so Patreon
it's a functional tip jar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really what it is.
It's a monthly tip.
Oh, another way you can support the show is to buy our sweet, sweet merch.
Yes,
If
and
you
I
would
am
like to support the
conveniently
show,
not wearing it
wear
today.
one of our shirts.
Yeah, I'm not wearing it today because I wear it every Friday, and I want to show the listeners, guys. I wear other shirts. This one's a Hearthstone shirt. I do wear other.
They're just all
apparel.
Hearthstone. Yeah.
They're just all Hearthstone, right? Or Overwatch. Soon I'll be ordering a bunch of Overwatch tees. So we'll see. So
oh,
yeah,
they do
thanks
look
so much
pretty
for that.
sweet. Did you see their new hoodies? All the Overwatch hoodies?
Oh yeah, I did, but I really want that jacket. I'm kind of holding off paying for stuff because my birthday is on Sunday, so I don't know what to really anticipate gift-wise from anybody. So we'll see.
Like the themed ones that are like they have a different hoodie for each character of Overwatch.
No,
Like
do they have a Mercy one?
Oh, have you not seen these? They're amazing. You got to look at them. They have a different themed jacket / hoodie for every character in Overwatch. Like the one for Soldier is like blue and red, and
Ooh.
yeah, they're sweet.
But they're not as cool as our merch. Let's be honest. Go get our merch. Come on.
Yes. Our merch is there.
Priorities, people. Let's go.
Not really, but very awesome.
All right.
Oh, there's Andrew's back.
Yeah, Andrew's back on the video feed. Awesome. So now that he's back, we're going to give him the responsibility of telling you where and when you should contact the show and how to find us.
When equals whenever. But where is, you can find us on Twitter, Velen's Podcast, Facebook, Velen's Chosen Podcast. Our website is velenschosen.com. You can find us on Patreon if you search for Velen's Chosen. And feel free to always email us, velenschosenpodcast@gmail.com. We are always interested to hear about decks that you're trying out. If you want some suggestions, tell us about your experience in Wild as you're trying it out this week and the crazy decks that you run into. Golly, variance is just crazy. And you can find us at all other places. Our Discord server, iTunes, RSS, Stitcher, all those links are available on the website, velenschosen.com.
And Eve, where can folks find you?
Hopefully. You can find me on Twitter at Finnovar, FHINNOVARR. If you would like my BattleNet, then send me a message, and I will probably go back over your Twitter feed and see what kind of person you are.
And then judge you.
You are.
I will find you.
And yeah, I haven't turned down a friend request yet. Honestly, I'm not. I just want to make sure that people are not trying to friend me so that they can sort me. That's
in a friend zone.
Yeah, I know, right? I generally don't accept friend requests after I've beaten someone with Aggro Shaman. So I apologize if you were a listener and you saw my name and were like, oh, I'm going to friend her. Yeah, I'm not going to accept that. I'm too afraid.
All right, Andrew, what about you?
Man, we got some lulls in the chatterbox.
Maybe we're all a little tired.
I'm not tired. I'm going off of 2 hours of sleep, and I'm making it happen. Baby rage is in real life, basically.
Baby rage.
But if you want to hang out with me, find me on Twitter. Andrew is living. Some arena tips on YouTube under the username BinacaFreak. I was talking with one of our listeners this week. He was asking if I was going to make more of those, and I think I just might try to. So I don't have anything on there about drafting for arena, but I think I think I've got some tips that would be really helpful for how to consider that, especially for basic, people who have their feet underneath them. And number 193, do it now.
Do it. You guys can find me. Oh, sorry, Eve. Go ahead.
I forgot you were next. Sorry, I was going to say something to close up the show, so I'll wait until you're done.
Okay, and then I'll pass it off. So you guys can find me over at Instagram.com/NotRob or Twitter.com/NotRob, posting all of the Pokemon's pictures. I just took a gym this morning, and by the time I got home, it was already down. So, sad face. Right. #Team Mystic all the way. Hail Articuno. So you can also find me over at Twitch at NotRobMay, rarely streaming, and you can find my Facebook at facebook.com/NotRobMedia for any media needs until I move to Japan, and then you'll have to cross countries to get any of my work. So also, if you guys like Overwatch, I have a really great show that I run with Coin Concedes Andres over at omniclab.com. We're really enjoying getting the swing of things. We just had a show last night, and that show will also be going the same day that this show goes live. And we were actually talking about our impressions of how competitive mode went. And I was complaining about something that needed to be fixed that Kaplan said was going to be fixed, wasn't hot fixed. And then they released the patch last night after I went to bed. So awesome. Now I look like a complete moron for the next week, but you guys can enjoy that. So pretty cool stuff. Eve, why don't you close out the show by saying sayonara?
I was listening to the Angry Chicken a couple days ago. Was it last night or the night before? And they were talking about how Ben Brode had either just responded to some people on Twitter, and they had collected all of those, so you can see some things that he has said. But they're looking into making some tweaks to Ladder, so we can all look forward to that. They want to make sure that people feel rewarded for their time spent, not just money spent, and how it kind of feels bad to be putting so much time into the game, trying to ladder up, and not always seeing a great return for your time. So that's very encouraging. If you want to hear more about it, yes, I am going to kind of point you towards the Angry Chicken, because they talked about it for, it felt like hours. But that's hopeful to me when you've been playing on ladder for as long as we have, and sometimes you just don't feel like you're getting anywhere.
Yeah, I did hear that they're also looking to tweak the collection manager so that you can like maybe click and drag your decks and like rearrange them or organize them in some way. So they're looking into something like that. I saw a tweet like that yesterday. So that's it from Exodar, from Evemartyn, from Andrew Brown, and from NotRobMay on Velen's Chosen number 46. Thanks for joining us. We'll see y'all next week. Adios.
Bye now.
Man.
Foresaw this.
Did I miss it?
Did I miss it?
Yeah, I think that our